Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Cricket Canvas. In today's episode, we have former Indian cricketer W.V. Raman joining us, and he talks about his experience about the Fab Five, the Pandavas of India's batting, a recently written book by me, which features Saurav Ganguly, Virender Sehwag, Sachin Tendulkar, VVS Laxman, and Rahul Dravid. A very warm welcome, sir, to the episode. You have been a cricketer, coach, uh, commentator, an author, so you have worn multiple hats. A warm welcome to you in the show, sir.
Thank you, Aditya. And thanks for having me on the show.
So, sir, to begin with, you were with Sachin Tendulkar during his debut series in Pakistan in 1989, and it's the T20 season. So, let's talk about a match which was a 20 over side exhibition game between India and Pakistan, in which Sachin scored 53 runs in 18 balls. You also scored 42 runs in that game, and he had hit Abdul Khadir for many sixes. Any memories of that match, sir?
I think it was supposed to be a 50 over game. I think because of rains playing spoil sport, that game could not be played.
Mhm.
But the crowd had turned up in good numbers. So what happened was that the administrators there in Sialkot, I think it was, they wanted to ensure that the patience of the public needed to be rewarded. So when it was announced by the umpires that 50 over game was not going to be possible,
Mhm.
that obviously try and improvise, as it were. And that's exactly what they did, and that's what led to that 20 over game being played. It was rather strange because you would think of a 50 over game being reduced to the 40 or at worst 35, but 20 over game was something that nowhere was aware of. And what generally it was not heard of then, rather than not being aware of, not heard of then in 89 we are talking about. So it was quickly decided to provide some spectacle for the spectators, and so a 20 over game was played. And it was played under conditions which are not really ideal, because outfield was really wet, and there are parts of ground which were really dangerous as well. But that did not really sort of get cognizance from the umpires or the administrators. The idea was to try and give the public something, which was fair enough because they had waited patiently, and that is something that always is done, because the sport thrives on public support, and if the public displays some patience, they needed to be rewarded, and that's exactly what was done then.
Mhm. So how was, I mean, you were batting with Sachin and such a young boy, a teenager, hitting Abdul Khadir for sixes. What do you recall from that inning?
So what I remember about that particular game was that I opened with Raman Lamba, and we had a bit of a partnership. And then Sachin did join me for batting, and we batted for a while, and I got out. And then
Mhm.
it came to a stage where the required run rate really piled up quite a lot, and somebody had to do something unusual to try and even get close to the target that we were set. And that's exactly what happened, because there was a bit of ribbing going on. Sachin being the kid that he was, and on his first tour, and generally whenever India and Pakistan play in any kind of encounter, there's a little bit of banter, a lot of ribbing goes on the field as well.
Mhm.
So that is exactly what was happening out there. And Sachin, being the kind of character who always wanted to be on the victorious side, decided to launch an onslaught towards the end of the innings. And it was mind boggling, because he was taking on perhaps one of the best bowlers world cricket had ever seen, Abdul Kadir. And he was just hitting sixes, stepping down the track, and not just managing to cross the boundary. He was
Mhm.
just launching them into the dressing room. He was launching them into the stands, and it was quite gobsmacking to watch a young kid take on the best in the business and then dispatch him all over the ground with such ease.
Mhm.
And that's when everybody realized here is somebody who's going to dominate the world for a long, long time. And everybody in the Pakistan side were absolutely awestruck, because they didn't know what was going on there. They'd not seen anybody take on Viv Richards. In fact, Viv Richards himself had not taken on Abdul Qadir in that fashion. And when they saw this kid just smash sixes,
Mhm.
like shelling peas, and it was something unusual even for everybody who had played the game for a long time as well, because nobody had seen sixes being hit such easily and so frequently in a short span of time.
Mhm.
So that was absolutely wonderful to watch, and I think we did fall short of the target. I don't remember if we went on to win that game.
Mhm.
But a kid had announced to the world that here I am. You're
Mhm.
going to see a lot of me for the next so many other years that I want to play this game.
Mhm. Mhm. Do you recall any discussions with him when he was going all over the place?
Not much, because the thing was that we batted generally for a while, and there was nothing much to really discuss, because he had just come into bat,
Mhm.
and sometimes it's better for your partner to be allowed to do what he wants to do, not try and impose yourself on him,
Mhm.
and that's exactly what happened.
Mhm.
So that's what it was.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay. Okay. And then, I mean, you played with him in multiple tours. You went to New Zealand. Any memories from the New Zealand tour that you have?
Yes, he was very disappointed in not becoming the youngest to get 100, I think, because he
Mhm.
missed out in Napier. He
Mhm.
got 80 odd, and there were a lot of talks about Sachin Tendulkar likely to become the youngest to get 100 in Test cricket, and
Mhm.
that was not to be, unfortunately. But then,
Mhm.
of course, after that, he made it a point to almost garner just about every record that there is in cricket to his name. So he's not done badly, has he? But the fact of the matter was that Sachin, as a batter, as a cricketer, and as an individual, was always far more mature than his age. And that was the standard quality of Tendulkar, the way he behaved, the way he spoke, the way he kind of thought about his game, and his overall concern for his teammates as well. Far, far mature than his age.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay. Now, I mean, if we fast forward to 96, Sachin Tendulkar is the captain, the series against South Africa. You're also part of the team. You're making a comeback to the team. How did you find him as a captain? Now, you had seen him as a teenager when he was making his debut, and now 7 years later, he was the captain of the side.
There were difficult times, I think the fact remains that there were a lot of chopping and changing going on at that point in time. A lot of decisions were taken in haste, and uh, generally, if you were to describe in one sentence, uh, there was no phase during that time where things were calm. It was always a bit tumultuous. It was always a bit of a rough weather prevailing in terms of selection, in terms of things that were done. So I think Sachin Tendulkar was perhaps unfortunate to have led during a time when things were not really calm and things were not settled. And also, it also is a fact that he was not given a free rein as a captain, because he was always uh, obviously very keen to do things differently, and he, in a way, I think he also could not make the selectors buy into his ideas. I think that was basically the problem when he captained, and it's no reflection of Sachin Tendulkar as a captain. Just looking at the numbers that happened during his tenure as captain, I think when you're leading a side, a lot of factors have to align, which did not perhaps happen then. And in that respect, I think it is perhaps a case of the timing not being right when he was the captain of India.
Mhm. Okay. And during that time, there was this tour to South Africa also, which wasn't very, I mean, not very happy for the Indians. But there was one particular partnership which was amazing between Tendulkar and Azharuddin, and you were watching it from the dressing room. How was that partnership, and how did it motivate, or what did it do to the team, the overall atmosphere in the team?
Trust me, I did watch it live.
Mhm.
I was a part of the dressing room and stuff like that. But trust me, uh, I realized what kind of an imperious partnership it was when I watched that replay much later. about 5, 6 years down the line. When I watched that partnership on the television, I felt, oh, what was that all about? And that was the kind of batting that both these guys engaged in on that particular morning.
Mhm.
And they got stuck into a very good bowling attack that South Africa had then. And it is just raining boundaries there, and they're getting boundaries at will. It was almost like they're just being handed down throwdowns by people in the regions that they had asked for, and then they're just smashing it for fun. That is a kind of batting that the public got to see, and all those watching the match on the television got to see. But I sort of, it dawned on me much later than when I was watching it live. Because when you're watching it live, you're just seeing it with so many things going through your head. You're not really kind of looking at it in a particular way. But when you're watching it on the television, a replay, when you're watching it, if you're trying to, sort of say, okay, right, let me see how did this partnership fare on that day, because this is what I remember. Do I remember this? Do I not remember this? Is kind of thing that you think of when you watch much later. And when I watched it, it was absolutely fantastic.
Mhm. So then the other thing that I wanted to talk to you, because this book that I have written is on the Fab Five, the batting order of late 90s to the mid 2000, and largely led by Saurav Ganguly. You have written a book, The Winning Sixer, in which you talk about leadership qualities. So observing Saurav Ganguly and being a cricketer, being in Indian cricket for decades, what are the things, what are the traits in Saurav Ganguly you think really worked in his favor for his success as the captain of the team?
I think one of the things that Saurav did well was to take decisions. His decision making propensity was perhaps what made him the leader that he was. And he obviously thought a lot about what he needed to do. He thought a lot about what the combination should be. Saurav is a kind of guy, suppose if he's got to decide between X and Y for a slot in the 11, if you initiate the discussion, it won't stop there. He will kind of once again run through the entire squad, think once again about the squad,
Mhm.
and then go back to the original issue that we started off with. So that's the kind of person Saurav Ganguly is. He would
Mhm.
like to really deliberate a lot. And
Mhm.
then he was never averse to taking decisions. I think that is what helped him to succeed as well as he did, and what helped him to take the team in the direction that it did.
Mhm.
So the standout quality was obviously decision making,
Mhm.
and then the thing was that he was one who could always communicate things to people,
Mhm.
and importantly, he had the backing of the administration as well. That is very important for anybody to have a successful stint and a long stint. Obviously, your success would always help you to stay in that position for a long time. But
Mhm.
all these things happen if you have the support of the administration, which he did to a large extent. And
Mhm.
also, full credit to Saurav. Obviously, the support was also earned in a way, because he was handed the responsibility at a very, very tricky stage,
Mhm.
uh, especially at the start of the millennium. You know what we are referring to.
Mhm.
It is not the best period for Indian cricket.
Mhm.
Nobody will look back at that phase with any kind of pride.
Mhm.
And that's the stage that he was given the mantle of captaincy.
Mhm.
And the way he handled things, the way he nurtured the young, talented guys, and backed them was the reason why he also gained the support of the administration. Also, a lot of illustrious peers that he had in the side.
Mhm.
It's not an easy job to earn their respect and also to have their backing.
Mhm.
And that obviously was garnered by Saurav Ganguly by sheer uh, leadership qualities that he displayed.
Mhm. Yeah. So you talk about you're talking about the, I mean, multiple stars being in the team. Sachin Tendulkar was by then one of the biggest stars in Indian cricket. Leading him, he had just quit captaincy. Then Rahul Dravid, VVS Laxman coming in. Sehwag was obviously junior to him. But it must have been very difficult to manage so many big stars also. And we have seen in the past that it has not been very easy for Indian captains to manage multiple stars in the team.
It should have been under normal circumstances, but let's not forget the fact that it was a different generation, different decade.
Mhm.
So, what could have perhaps been happening in the earlier decades need not necessarily continue to happen. And that's exactly what I think was uh, the difference
Mhm.
when Saurav Ganguly was captaining, because all these well established cricketers that you mentioned,
Mhm.
they were leaders in their own rights,
Mhm.
and they realized the fact that they need not be given the title
Mhm.
of a captain to contribute as part of a leadership group.
Mhm.
And they were not insecure. They realized that they could contribute, help the team and the rest of the members of the team if they chose to in any which way possible. And
Mhm.
that's exactly what they did. They didn't need the title to contribute.
Mhm.
And I think it was fantastic of all of them
Mhm.
to take that stance and support the captain. And obviously, they played cricket. As they say, when something negative is done, we say it's not cricket. So
Mhm.
they displayed that that is cricket
Mhm.
by being loyal to their side, by being useful to the other members of the side, and also being supportive to the captain. I
Mhm.
think they showed how cricket has to be
Mhm.
played rather, and how cricketers have to be as
Mhm.
part of a team.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then the other two players that I have as part of this Pandavas, who are the Nakul and Sahdev, I have given them. So in the book, Tendulkar is Arjun, Saurav Ganguly is Yudhishthir, Virendra Sehwag is Bhim, VVS Lakshman is Nakul, and Rahul Dravid is Sahdev. And all of them had their contributions in Mahabharata also, if we see. But specifically talking about Rahul Dravid and VVS Lakshman, of course, their epic partnership against Australia in Calcutta is legendary. But you have played with them both in the Indian team as well as in domestic cricket. Any particular memories that you have playing with them, or anything that you would like to highlight about them?
Rahul and VVS Lakshman were obviously the next generation of cricketers to mine.
Mhm.
And when they came into the South Zone side, I was perhaps captaining the side.
Mhm.
And there was absolutely no doubt in anybody's mind but that these two guys were the future hopefuls for their respective states and also for the country. And when I saw them play in the early days of their career for the zonal side, uh, it was fairly obvious to me that these guys will go on to really do extraordinarily well.
Mhm.
It is a matter of when they were likely to break into the Indian side. It's not a question of whether they'll
Mhm.
make it into the Indian side. It's a question of when.
Mhm.
So that's how everybody felt. And I do remember. I think it was perhaps the 93-94 season. Once we finished with the league phase of the Tulip Trophy, I think we played the last game at Lucknow against East Zone, and at the end of it, I was asked by one of the reporters there, what do you make of these two boys and two youngsters? I said, these two will go on to become the pillars of Indian cricket in the future. Because Rahul Dravid obviously was uh, very correct, very technically good, and absolutely committed to the game. VVS Lakshman, he made things look very easy, and uh, in fact, he was the kind of player who would make his opponents also admire him when he played those shots, when he batted. You could be the most competitive of fast bowlers, but when you bowl to him and when he used those wrists with great elegance and style, and you see the ball speeding to the boundary, you can't help but clap because that was his special ability. Not many had that ability,
Mhm.
and he also happened to be a fantastic guy as well. It's just that it's a rare combination. All these boys not only were excellent in their chosen field, but they're also outstanding individuals as well off the field.
Mhm. Yeah, very rightly said. I mean, both of them were pillars of the Indian team for more than a decade, and I mean they were the prime stage of the batting order. Then the fifth player that I have in my list among the Fab Five. And just by seniority, he is the fifth. By no means that anyone is lesser than others. But Virender Sehwag, you have been an opener and you have been a coach also. What do you do when a player like Virender Sehwag comes to the side? How do you interact with him? What do you tell him? I mean, because he redefined the way Test match opening batting was seen.
Absolute game changer. To
Mhm.
me, he is an absolute game changer and one of the legends of Indian cricket, because the point was that um, he stuck to his strengths. He did what he knew to do, and he did it extraordinarily well, and in all conditions, against all attacks.
Mhm.
And he set up test matches for the bowlers.
Mhm.
The time that he gave the bowlers was phenomenal. And to do it on such a regular basis, to get 8,000 runs and
Mhm.
to do it just about everywhere is no mean feat.
Mhm.
And what will I tell him? I'll just tell him, you do what you want to do. Carry on with it,
Mhm.
because you're a match winner. You can change things on their heads. You just get on with your ways. And all I would want you to do is just give some bowlers extra time.
Mhm.
That's about it. There's no saying anything. But otherwise, the point is that I'll try and engage in a lot of conversations with him, because he can be very, very witty. He can be very, very funny.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm sure. I mean, that was apparent in the way he approached his batting and in his general talks as well. Absolutely. So, the last question that I have is: you have seen Indian cricket for so long. You mentioned that world cricket itself was going through a low phase when all these players came together in the team. So, what do you think has been the biggest impact that these five have? And by no means I am trying to decrease the impact that say someone like Anil Kumble, Jaggal Srinath, Yuvraj Singh, all the others have. But just focusing on the batting and these five, what is the biggest impact you think they had on Indian cricket?
They were solid as cricketers and as individuals. And what they also did extraordinarily well was to change the way things were seen, change the way things were done, and create an atmosphere. Of course, in all these things that I mentioned just now, you cannot exclude the likes of Srinath, Zahirs, and Kumble's.
Mhm. Right.
They do become a part of it. So what all of them together did was to change the things completely for the better, in
Mhm.
terms of creating a fantastic atmosphere, in terms of being very positive about things, in terms of taking the team ahead in a totally different direction.
Mhm.
That which was to play the game, it has to be played, and then at the end of it all, back each other when things are not going well.
Mhm.
So that's a new kind of culture that they brought in,
Mhm.
and that is their biggest contribution. Look at
Mhm.
the numbers they churned out for the team and for the country and in international cricket. The things that they did otherwise, I think, will always, in my book, go down as the biggest contribution they all of them uh, did in as far as Indian cricket is concerned.
Absolutely, sir. I mean, you have rightly said. I mean, the apart from the numbers, the way in which they carried themselves, that is probably the biggest contribution that they have on Indian cricket or probably world cricket. So, thanks a lot, sir. It has been a pleasure having you on this chat, and hope to see you soon. Thanks a lot again for joining and giving your valuable insights. Thanks a lot, sir.
You're welcome. All the very best. And apparently, your book has been received extraordinarily well. A lot of them have a lot of good things to say. I'm on the verge of catching up with a backlog of books. So I can't put a certain date to when I'm going to pick up your book and go through it. But when I go through it, I'll definitely give you my feedback on it. Thank you.
Sure, sir. Sure. That would really be great, sir. Thanks a lot, sir.